Yeah. So on the VS Code, you can just come and just click open folder. And today we are on 10th August, right? Lecture 5 Tuesday, 10th August. And do the select folder. Right. So yesterday we just saw the if loop, and today we will be seeing the if else loop. Right. So all those who have done in C, it is easy only. Just the syntax is a bit different. Right. So for example, I'm just importing OS and os.system. This is for just clearing the screen so that the output can be seen clearly. So in the previous program, we just saw an if else part, right? Now there might be multiple conditions, right? For example, if you take the vaccination code, right? So if age is above 60 in the initial phase, it was a valid guise, right? For senior citizens, the vaccination was allowed. Then slowly and slowly, the loop came to 45 to 60. Then we have an else if loop. Else if between 45 to and 60, you are allowed, right? And below 18 was not allowed. I mean, within 18 to 45 was not allowed, right? Now 18 to 45 is also allowed, and all these things. So just see a small program here. You have already known if and else if in C. The same concept goes here also. So here we are taking the input amount, but I'm keeping the amount as a static only in this case, right? Let me take the amount as 1001. So we will see each and every case how it is getting satisfied, right? So if amount is less than 1000, right? So what is the amount here? Amount is 100. So 100 is less than 1000, right? So what will be the discount here? Because this loop is satisfied. So what will be the amount here? Amount is 100 into 0.5, that is 5, right? So I am just printing the discount here, and then the net payable will be the amount minus the discount. So I am calculating the discount here. Let me just execute the code once again. Right, so you can see the discount is 5, and I am having a program which is okay. Let me just exit here so that we can do only one thing at one time, right? So remember, whenever you have multiple if else, so basically if you can see this, I have a if loop here, then I am writing something known as elif. Basically this is nothing. In C you had done something like else if, right? So in Python, basically it combines the else and if together as elif. Now, why did you use the term elif? Because in Linux scripting, because Python is made very close to the Linux operating system, in Linux shell scripting, the elif basically is used in the shell scripting part, right? So this nothing means, but this is else if, right? Always remember that whenever you have an if, elif, and else ladder, the final part will always be else, right? This is just like, for example, this is a valid loop, if and else, but we are inserting multiple else if in the between of this, fine? So else if the amount is less than 5000, right? And always remember, now I have a ladder of 4. I check this condition, I check this condition, I check this condition, and I check the final else condition. Only one of them will be satisfied. Only one of them will be running at a time, right? Now, if you see, for example, the amount was 100. So the amount is less than 1000, 100 is also less than 5000, and 100 is also less than 10,000. But the moment any one of the ladder is satisfied, the program actually comes out of this ladder. So in our case, so for example, let me keep the amount as 2000, right? Now I'm keeping amount as 2000. So what happens if amount is less than 1000? So 2000 is less than 1000. So it is a false statement. So what it does, it now comes to this else if loop. In this else if loop, 2000 is less than 5000. It becomes true. So the moment this becomes true, this won't be executed, right? This won't be executed. Directly I compute 2000 into 0.1, which is 200. So my discount becomes 200, and I will print amount minus discount. That means 200, 2000 minus 200. Let me just run the code. So you can see the discount is 200 and the net payable is 1800. So a very simple concept that you have already done in C, else if, and finally if nothing is executed. So for example, the final amount is 10,000. So let me keep the amount as 20,000. So 20,000 is less than 1,000, false. 20,000 is less than 5,000, false. 20,000 is less than 10,000, false. Finally, I have an amount which is none of the loops are satisfied. So finally, I will go to the else part and the code executes. So let me run the code. So you can see the discount is 0.2, 20,000 and 0.2 makes it 4,000, and then you gave the 20% discount. Fine. So a simple thing only, if else loop, but very widely used. And now you can have a nested if else bracket, right? Nested if else means, for example, I'm entering a number here, right? And I'm checking if the number modulus 2 means if the number which is I'm entering, let's say I'm entering the number 6. 6 modulus 2 is 0, of course, because when you divide by 6, when you divide 6 by 2, the remainder is 0. So this loop is satisfied. Now again I'm checking another if condition. So you can see within an if I am having a if else. Again you must have done this in C, but I'm just showing the same thing in Python, right? So basically if the number is also divisible by 3, you can say that okay, number is divisible by 3 and 2 both. Fine. Else we can just say ki, okay, it is divisible by 2 but not divisible by 3, right? Because let's say, now let us just execute the code. Enter a number 6 divisible by 3 and 2, right? Divisible by 3 and 2. So what happens here? I just check 6 by 2 oppose 0, 6 by 3 again 0. So this both the if are satisfied, so this gets executed. Now let me enter a number node as 7, right? Not divisible by 2, not divisible by 3. Why? Because 7 modulus 2 is 0, false, right? Because the remainder will be 1. So it comes to the else part directly. Now 7 modulus 3 equal to 0? No, because 7 when divided by 3 gives a remainder as 1. So I come to the else part, which is not divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3. So the takeaway here is, if you have multiple if else statement, only one will execute correctly, right? None of the conditions are satisfied, else part will be executed and the loop exits, right? So in the next part, so you can interrupt with chats and doubts if you have in between, right? Now we have an if else part with the list operator, right? We saw the list yesterday. List is nothing but like an array, but it supports multiple data types, a mixed data type. You can have a list with floating, integers, characters, strings, all of them. Fine. Now you have AS20, AS10 and BS20, and I have a list here. Now see what I'm doing, I'm using the in operator. Now what does in operator do? As we have seen again, let us go back to the drawing board. So I have a list here, let's say A is 10. Here I have a list with A as 10, and I have a list here with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So when I say if A in list, right, I think this is the same statement. Yeah, if A in list. So what basically this does is, it will check for the element A. What is the A element? A element is 10. So it will basically convert if 10 in, what is the list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So basically this list expands like this and this list expands like this. Fine. So now what does it mean? Whether 10 is present in the entire list. So it basically checks the entire list. Remember one thing, it will not check the first element or the second element. It will check for the entire list, right? So if you can see that 10 is not present here, so basically A is not available in the list, A is available, not available, right? So what it will be printing, since 10 is not here, it will print the else part, it is not available in the list. Let me just run the code. So you can see A is not available in the list. Now I am doing for B, right? What is B? B is 20. But you can see what I have written here, B not in list, right? Not in means B is not present in the list. So let us go to the drawing board, see B is 20. So let me change the pen color. So now what happens? 20 not in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So basically 20 is not there here. So this is a true statement. Yes, because 20 is not here. So this results in a true statement. So when true is coming, so basically it will become if true. So that means B is not available in the list, right? So we have B is not available in the list. Similarly, C is B by 2. So what will be B by 2? B by A, sorry. 20 by 10, what is the quotient? We get 2, because both are integers, the output will be an integer. So now I am saying C in list, right? So what is the value of C? C basically is 2, right? So you can see 2 is there in the list, right? So again it will be a true statement. So whenever you are working with list, the in operator is very widely used, right? For example, again I'm referring to the attendance example. You are 140 students in the class, roughly 50 are present, right? So I can just make two lists, something like, let's say full class. Let's say I'm keeping the roll number 1, 2 up to 140, and the class today present, let's say, has, I'm just giving a serial wise roll number, let's say 48. These are the present class today. So what I can do, I can just write a for loop that we will see later on, and we can just check whether this particular element is there in the full class. So once I have checked all these elements, the remaining elements will be marked as absent, right? So this is the use of list and the use of in and not in. Again, in and not in is a default and inbuilt operator in Python. So you cannot use these for the variable names, right? So again, a ternary operator is there, right? So ternary operator means ternary basically specifies 3, right? So let me just show you an element. So the example here is a comma b is 100 comma 20. So let me check this example. So a comma b is 100 comma 20. So what does it mean? Let me change the pen color. So that means a will be 100 because it goes respectively, and b will be 20. Now what does ternary operator say? Minimum element is equal to a if a less than b, else b. So let me just expand this for you. A if a less than b, else b, right? This is the loop. So now let me break down this for you, right? It's just a very concise thing that is being done here, but if you see logically, right, and then this is the one part, right? So what I'm checking here in the condition is if a less than b, right? On the left hand side I am writing true, and on the right hand side I am writing false. This is how it executes. So I will check the condition if a is less than b, right? In our case 100 is less than 20, right, which is a false statement, right, which is a false statement. So where it will go? It will go to the false part. So it will make else b. So what will happen? The minimum element will get the value b. Let me just run the code and see. See, the minimum value is getting 20. Now let me keep this as 200, right? So b gets 200 now. Let me change the pen color. So now what happens? B gets 200. So what will happen if a is less than b? So 100 is less than 200, right? So what it is, it's a true statement. So true will go on the left hand part. So what will true become? A will become to the min element, right? So this is how you just check. Whenever there is a ternary operator, you just check the if part. On the true, it's the left hand side. Basically it says if a is less than b, I am going with a. If a is not less than b, I am going with the else part. So again, a very simple concept. Fine. Okay, now let me just run another code. This was again that we saw yesterday, right? So as we saw in Boolean, Python supports true and false, right? So true and false with a capital T, right? Not small t and small f, with a capital T and small RUE and a small one. So what is here that x I am saying as true. True means x has a value which is present, right? And now what I'm printing the value of x and y, right? And then you can see I'm writing the operator and, it made into the pink color. That means again it is predefined in the Python library, right? So we have already seen, see, true can be treated as 1 in computer science and false is treated as 0. You have already studied logic in +2, and also you must have studied the basic digital logic and or gates in C also. So what happens when we have values like A, B, right? So we have four possible combination. So A and B, A or B. As we saw in AND, what happens when both are true, the output is 1. Else if any one of them is false or 0, the output is 0. What happens in OR? If both are 0, then it is 0. Else if any one of them is 1, the output is 1. So what happens here when I do X and Y? So I am doing true and false, right? What does AND require? AND requires that both should be true. So this will be false. So you can see X and Y is false. When I'm doing X or Y, because any one of them can be true, one of them is true, so this is true. Now I am doing not X. As we have seen, not basically is a complement operator. Complement means if X is true, not X becomes false. Similarly, when Y is false, not X becomes true, right? Not false is true. Basically, not bad means good, right? Not good is bad. And now where do you use this and or conditions? Fine. You can use this and or conditions like this. For example, A is 10, B is 50. And I want to check for two conditions. If A is greater than 5 and B is greater than 55. So condition is satisfied. So you can see A, so 10 greater than 5, it is true. 50 greater than 55 is false. So the else part will come and we can see the condition is not satisfied, right? So how can you use in this an IIT scenario? Like you can use this condition like this. Something, right? If CPI greater than 8 and CPI less than 9, right? So we can say 8 pointer, something of that sort, right? And you can have multiple conditions here and or you can have any combination of this, right? So let's say you can do a CPI here. CPI, let's say 8.5. Right, so you can see that 8.5 is greater than 8 and it is less than 9, right? So we come the output as 8.2. So this is how you will use and or logic. Fine. So class, it's 12:21. We can have a small break for 4 minutes and then we shall be back at 12:25. Yeah, see you then. Doubts are of course welcome. Yeah, class, welcome back. So now we shall be seeing more operator. Basically this is called chaining of operators. Now what do we mean by chaining? Right? So for example, I have a value x is equal to 5 and I'm writing here print 1 is less than x is less than 10, right? So what happens here? So basically I'm printing 1 which is less than equal to 5 which is less than equal to 10, right? So this becomes a true statement, right? So let me just run the code once again. So you can see the output of this print statement is not these characters, right? Why? Because I am not enclosing them in the quotes. If I enclose them within the quotes, this string will be printed as it is. So let me show you a difference between what happens when you put a quote inside the print and you don't put a quote inside the print. So what happens here? If you can see, let me also write exit. When I'm printing 1 less than x less than 10 inside the quotes, this basically it treats as a string that I need to print, right? Let me just run the code so you can see this is actually printed. And if I don't put a quote here, this basically says that, okay, I am evaluating the expression, right? I am evaluating the expression. Fine. So what is the expression? 1 less than x less than 10. So if I come to the drawing board, print 1 less than x less than 10. What was the value of x? Is 5. 1 is less than 5 less than 10, right? So how it is evaluated? Internally it is evaluated like this: print 1 is less than 5 and 5 is less than 10. So what it will be? 1 is less than 5 is true and true, right? So 2 and true is true. So finally the output which is printed is true, right? Similarly for other case, 10 is less than x less than 20. What is x? X is 5. 10 is less than 5, false. So this will be a false statement. See, a false is coming. Then on similarly, you can check for the other things also, like 10 is greater than 5, which is true, and 5 is less than equal to 9. So it's not less, it is less actually, but not equal. So this again becomes a true statement. And similarly, you can have a chaining of comparison operators also, as deep as you can go. See, A, B, C, D, E, F, this is some 0, 5, 1, 2, 15, and you can say this expression, A is less than equal to B, less than equal to C, C is greater than D, if not, and all these things, right? So let me show you how is this basically evaluated. So I have written here. So I will go from left to right. A is less than equal to B. So in the brackets, I am saying A is less than equal to B, and B is less than equal to C, and B is less than equal to C, and C is greater than D, and C is greater than D, and D is not E. So you take one character and join, and E is F, right? So A is less than B. So 0 is less than 5. This becomes true. B is less than C. 5 is less than 12, which is also true. Then we have C greater than D. 12 greater than 0. Again true. D is not E, right? D is not E, correct? Because 0 is not 15, again true. E is F, right? 15 is 15, which is true. So true, 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 true. So we become, the expression basically will come out to be true. So you can see print expression is true. Fine. So let me just print the value of expression here. So you can see this becomes true, and then I'm actually changing the expression 1. Let me make this as expression 3. Expression 3, and this is expression 2, right? So that all of them are satisfied. So you can see expression 2 and 3 gives us false. Fine. So this is how you evaluate chaining of operators. Fine. Okay, now we come to the for loops in Python. So in C, you must have studied a very unique method, and Python basically improvises it very nicely. So let us see how does the for loop basically work in Python. Right, so let me just put exit here. So see, VS Code is intelligent enough to just blur this part, because it says that okay, this is the part of the code which is unreachable. See, code is unreachable. So I am writing here for now is a syntax of Python, just like in C we had a for loop. Same goes here. For x in range. So range is a keyword in Python, and I'm writing a keyword, and I'm writing a number which is 6. Let us first see the output of this. So when I write for x in range 6, just see what is the output here. Output is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? It comes till 5. Similar to the indexing thing that we studied. So when I say for x in range, and let me keep the pen color as 6. Colon is important, and because this is a looping statement or a condition checking, you need to give a tab or 4 spaces, right? I'm denoting it by 4 dots. Let me keep the pen color as blue, and I am writing print of x. Now how it is executing in Python. Fine. So first of all, when we have range of 6, right? Remember in our indexing thing, if I am saying, okay, print 1:5, that means print from 1 to 5, but don't include 5. Similarly, here range. So when I'm specifying the range here, range basically says that I'm starting from 0 up to the value of range -1, right? So I will be starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. By default, is an increment of 1. We will actually see how can we increment in different values, right? Right now, just leave that part. So see, range 6 means 6 values. And if you count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 values. So basically, if you have a range of k, that means values will be 0 to k minus 1. See, k minus 1 to 0, k minus 1 to 0 will actually have k values, right? Because if you see end point minus start point and the one you add because you include that point itself. So this basically again is equal to k. Fine. This is how range works. Now what happens in x? So x is a variable that iterates over this range. Now I will tell you what do I mean by iterate. So let me bring you this part again. For x in range 6, right? Now what did I tell you? This range, right? This range basically converts into a list 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. If you want to see how the range works, so let me just print the range, right? Separately I'm printing the range so that you can see that okay, it basically gets range 0, 6, but internally it is expanded in this fashion. Like you can think it of a list from 0 to 5. So what it now becomes, for x in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically in the first iteration, you remember in C, for I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, and then you made some statements. So this loop will execute from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, till 9 because it is less than 10. Similarly, this loop will execute. First, the value of x will be 0 in the first iteration. Then in the second iteration, the value is 1. Then this is the third iteration, the value is 2. The fourth iteration, the value is 3. Fifth iteration, the value is 4. And finally, sixth iteration, the value is 5. And then the loop basically exits, right? So you can just link your C loop with this thing and the things will be clear. Fine. Okay, so let me just remove the range and this. Fine. Now you can see the different usage of ranges, right? So here I am saying for x in range 2 to 6, right? Now what happens here? Because you are saying two numbers in the range, it becomes like this. Let me just show you. Do a next slide, change the pen color. So when I say for x in range 2 comma 6, this basically expands as 2, 3 and 4, 5. Remember the last point is not included. The last point is not included. This expands like this. Again, 6 minus 2 is equal to 4 values. You can see 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 4 values. Fine. This is how the range expands. So now for example, in the previous case, if you are giving only one number, implicitly this is 0, 6, right? Implicitly it is like this. Fine. So when you specify range 2, 6, I am basically getting, let us see the output. You can see the range is 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I am having another thing which is three numbers, range 2, 30, and this is basically the increment operator. Now in this case, if you see, my numbers were getting incremented by 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The incrementation was 1. Similarly, in this case, the incrementing was 1. Now in the last case, you can see 2, 30 and 3. In this case, the increment is by 3. So you can see the first value is 2. Then we have 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, 20. Right? This is how the values are increasing. Fine. I hope no doubt till here. And of course, you can have multiple statements in printf, right? So let's say if I print hello here. So you can see 2 hello, 5 hello, 8 hello, 11 hello. Because why? Because I had kept this indentation inside the for loop. I had kept the indentation inside the for loop. So this becomes a part of for. If I remove the indentation, hello will be printed only after the program exits, right? So you can see everything is printed because the hello was outside the indent. It is printed only a single time after the for loop is done executing. Fine. So quite easy concepts only, but of course first 2-3 weeks goes in this fashion only for those who do not know Python at all. I would request all of you that okay, you install Dropbox, get the codes synced on your desktop and try to execute just like I am executing. Programming is best learned when you do the code by executing. Not everything can be taught in the class. You have to execute, research, and try to code on your own. Fine. Now lecture 11. So this is basically for loops only, and how can we iterate over a list. Right? So now if you see, Python has a very strong support for lists inbuilt also. Let me just show you what do I mean by that. Let me just exit here. Right? So you can see I'm just clearing the screen, os.system cls. Now I'm writing here for letter in this. So let me just make this x actually. And then I will say ki what is the current letter and all. So see, I am saying Python for x in Python, and let me just show you the output here. So you can see this Python string in the for loop is read character by character, Python, right? Now how does this happen, right? So whenever Python sees any string, now how do you recognize a string? You can see there is a double quotes here, right? Whenever Python sees a string in the for loop, it will traverse character by character. It will traverse character by character. Now what do I mean by that? Let us come to the drawing board. So when I say for x in Python, don't forget the colon and then our indentation, which I am denoting by arrow. I am doing print of x. So internally what happens here, this becomes like this. For x in, I am having a list with individual character. And what will be the output? The x value initially is p, then y, then t, then h, then o, then n. This is how Python automatically expands. Fine. So this is a very powerful feature because you can iterate over lists that we will see as a next example, right? So just for making the program more easier to read and more understandable, we keep some good variable names. Like in this case, I have kept letter. So for letter in Python, so I know Python is a word, but this for loop will read this word letter by letter. So first P, then Y. So you can see the current letter is one letter at one time. Fine. Now let us see how can we iterate over a list in Python. So see, I have a fruit list. I am keeping banana, I am keeping apple, and I am keeping mango. Right? Now if you see here, so I'm saying, see, this is a fruits, right? Fruits with a S here, right? This is a plural form. So I'm saying for fruit in fruits, right? Now remember, when you see the output here, you can see the output is banana, apple, and mango, right? Now you may say that why I am not getting B, A, N, N, A, N. The reason is the list itself contains words, right? Let us back to the drawing board. Now for X in banana, apple, and we had mango, right? So X will first iterate over this entire thing, then over this entire thing, then over this entire thing. In this case also you can see it iterated over a single character because we only had a single character. Now if you want, for example, see, I'm printing the value of fruit, right? If you want less confusion, let me print this as X for X in fruits, right? So let me run the code. You are getting banana, apple, and mango. We will see one more example here. I have a list here, fruit, banana, apple, mango, same list here, right? I'm using the keyword here index. Okay. Now index you have already studied in arrays. So what will be the index here? Let me change the pen color. The index here is 0, 1, and 2. Fine. The index here is 0, 1, and 2. So what happens here is like, okay, let me print the value of index also. Print index. Here you can see I am printing range and length of fruits. So how many elements does the fruit list have? 1, 2, and 3. Right? They have 3 elements. What will be the length of fruits? Length of fruits now becomes 3. So what it becomes? Range of 3. What does range of 3 means? 0, 1, 2. Right? So let me just say this. We have 3 elements. So length of fruits basically is 3. What is the range of 3? Range of 3 gets expanded as 0, 1, 2. Fine. And now what I'm doing, you can see, just let me run the code. You can see the index is 0, 1 and 2. And see, I'm using fruits as a list, but I'm specifying the index. What was the initial index? Initial index was 0. So this was index 0. So I get banana index 1 and index 2. I hope this point is clear to you, right? So again, just like an array indexing, we have indexing in Python also. Fine. So very easy to observe and very easy to learn. So need not worry about these things, right? It's quite simple to understand. Fine. Any doubts or any issues at this point? Okay. So another program here. So see, I'm having a list of numbers here. Numbers is 11, 33, 55, 39, blah, blah, blah. And you can see I'm using a for loop for num in numbers, right? So I will iterate over each and every number, and then I'm doing modulus 2 is equal to 0. So I'm just saying the list contains an even number. So let me just put a comment out here so that you can see that for every number this will print if whether it is okay. For if this number flag is 1, okay. Oh, this was a break. Okay, fine. So what happens here when I read the number? Okay, break also you must have studied in C, but I will just tell you. Break basically will stop the execution of the loop. So for example, let me just show you a very simple example of break. Let me copy this. I'm doing print num, right? So technically the above loop basically should iterate over all the numbers. You can see this loop is iterating over 11, 33, 55, 39, 11, 33, 55, 39, and so on till 13. Now if I insert the break statement here, so what does break statement do? It basically puts a break, like the word says. It breaks the loop execution. So basically the number 11 will be printed and then break encounters. So it will exit the loop. So only 11 will be printed, right? So this is actually useful in many cases when you want to actually just check for an instance. For example, if you want to check whether this list contains at least one even number, right? So let's say the even number is at the start only, right? In this case, the even number is, okay, I don't see 11, 33, 55, 39. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I'm just checking whether number modulus 2 is 0, right? Okay, I had two programs here. That is why the printing is like this. Let me just exit here. So to check whether an even number is present in this list, you divide every number by 2. Now, since let's say on the very first number that you encounter is an even number, you can just break the loop. There is no need to run the loop again and again and again and again. Fine. So when I run this code, you can see that in this particular list, there is no even number. So it iterates over. For example, let me just print the number. You can see it iterates over all the numbers and just says the list does not have an even number. Now just see the next case. Fine. So I am having, let me keep this as 30. Fine. So I'm having one even number, right? And let me also print this. Okay, this actually, let me keep the num here. So it iterates over every number. So you can see it iterated over 11. 11 modulus 2 is not equal to 0. So you can see that this part is not satisfied. Fine. And basically it will not go into the if loop. Fine. Again, the next number is 30. 30 is printed. 30 modulus 2 is 0. So it says the list contains an even number and then breaks. This will be here. Yeah, the list contains an even number. So this is how you can use for loop, if, else together, right? So this you will learn on the Thursday. I will give you a tutorial. I will compile all these programs and give you a big program that can actually help you learn this. Now again, we have an example for nested for loop. Now what does nested for loop mean? Okay, this is a very huge example. 1 to 4 and 1 to 3. So nested for loop also you have seen in learned in C, but let me give you an easier example. Print I is equal to I is equal to this and j is equal to this dot format I comma j. So you know that for loop will actually execute for the amount of range that it is specifying, right? So let me just say I am going from 1 up to 4 for I, and then for j I am going from 1 to 3. So what happens here, initially I will start from 1 and then j will execute from 1 and 2. Let me just run the code, you will get an idea. See, what I am doing here is like, let me go to the drawing board. I think nested for loop everybody knows. So very simply, I will just go through it. It's just more like a revision of your C classes. For I in range 1 to 4. So how does this expand? 1, 2, and 3. For j in range 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2. This is how it expands. So initially what will happen? Let me change the pen color. So I and j. So when I is 1, so I will start from this loop. Then I will execute the j completely. So for completely executing j, I need 1 and 2 both. So this will be 1 and 2. After j is over, I return back to I. So what will be I happening in that case? I in this case will become 2. Again, j will be happening as a complete execution. So j becomes 1 and 2. Again, we have I as 3. And then we will have j as 1 and 2. So you can see how many times it executed: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many elements this list had? This had 3 elements. How many elements this list had? 2 elements. Total execution is 3 into 2 is equal to 6 executions. So you can see we have 6 executions here. Fine. This was the concept of nested for loop. Now along with break, we also have a continue statement, just similar to C only, that we have already seen. Let me just run the code. So you can see here I am iterating over the letter Python, right? So now what I am saying, if letter is equal to H, then I am saying continue. So continue will bring the loop execution to the start of the loop. So when I encounter continue, so what will happen? Initially P will be printed, right? You can see the current letter is P. The next letter is H, which matches with this if loop, right? If letter equal to H, this matches here, and then I do a continue. That means I'm ignoring all the further part of the program, and then I'm coming back to this point. So just let me show you a small difference between break and continue. So let's say for X in range, you have so many statements and you encounter a continue. And let me keep another example here. For Y in range, and I'm doing break. And this is your further program. Right? Similarly, this is your further part out of the loop. So what happens in this is, for example, if you are using break, break will ignore everything even if the loop is not over and basically encounter you to this point out of the loop, right? Whereas continue, what it will do, it will transfer you to the starting of the code, ignoring this line for that particular instance to the start. Basically, you can remember continue as something like continue the program, and break means break the program. So the moment I encounter letter H, I just do continue, so I will return to the start of the program. So you can see PYT, H is not printed because it ignores everything below continue for that instance, and then it starts with N. Right. Similarly, you can see here what happens in break. The moment I encounter H, I am breaking the code. So you see PYT, right? Other parts are ignored, right? And last but not the least, there is a thing called pass in Python. So pass basically does nothing, right? Pass basically does nothing. You may ask why then it is actually used. Sometimes, you have a situation where you just need to write one statement in a loop, and for that we use pass, right? So you can see in this particular statement, when I encounter the character H, I am saying pass. Pass means do nothing, right? And in this print statement, I am saying this as a pass box. So you see, instead of H, I am just printing this, right? Pass encountered rarely, but it's a good keyword to remember. Pass is a keyword in Python. Now again, while. So while is just similar to what you studied exactly in C. So for example, while count is less than 9, right? So I'm just printing the value of count. Let us run the code here. Okay, why did not it? Okay, there are many codes with while. So let me just put an exit here. So you can see while count is less than 9, I define count as 0. Count is less than 9, count plus 1, right? Because there is no count plus plus in Python, right? Remember, there is no pre-increment and post-decrement like C. So count plus plus is wrong in Python. So you can see while count is less than 9, give a colon. And since while is a loop, you have to specify indentation here, right? And then I'm just saying goodbye. Let us see another example. So here I am combining while and the if loop. So what I am saying here, while the var is greater than 0, so var was 10. 10 is greater than 0. I am decrementing the value of var, so it will become 9. The moment I reach the value 5, I am breaking the loop. So it will be 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. The moment it becomes 6 minus 1, 5, it basically breaks the loop. Right? And similarly, the other case. Right? So I think while again is very simple, just like C only. Just you have to remember that we have to put a colon here and we need to give indentation. Either 4 spaces, 2 spaces, a tab. Just keep it uniform, right? So whenever you encounter with a loop, always remember that the loop should have a end clause. End clause means somewhere the loop should basically come to an end, right? So in this case, if you see, I'm saying flag is equal to 1, or I can even write flag is equal to 2, true, true. So in this point, you will actually see that when I do while of true, right, this statement will be printed, and this will keep on printing the statement again and again and again and again, right? It will never stop. So this is a very bad example. So let me just show you that. I hope my terminal does not hang. So you can see here, infinite times the value is getting printed. So this again is a very bad programming exercise. You can just press Ctrl C if you stuck here. Always remember that you should have an exit clause when executing the loop. Right? So similarly, if you want to have such an example, let's say you want to take a user input continuously, and then you forget to put an exit clause here. You can see var equal to 1. So while var is 1, I am taking an input, I am entering the number. Taking input, entering the number. So let me run the code. Oh, sorry. Right? Because of this, it was happening. Run the code. You can see enter a number, 5, enter a number. So it continuously asks me for the number. Why? Because I am in a while loop asking for a number, and the while loop is always true, right? So whatever number I will ask, it will keep on entering and taking it. So always remember, in case of loops, please avoid these infinite loops. If you get stuck, press Ctrl C and execute. Fine guys, so basically now we are done with the flow control. Fine, please sync your Dropbox and try to execute the code. I know this is the third week and the codes might have appeared easy, but from the next part, since now we have learned list and we have also learned the control structures, you will realize, okay, how to code in Python. The first coding tutorial we will be doing on Thursday 12 to 1. So meet you then. If you have any doubts, please ask, or else we are done for the day. Okay guys, you all can exit.